Oh, welcome back everyone to Enforcer and the Dude. We're back at the bar. We haven't been here for a long time. Yes, we're still alive. And yes, Enforcer and the Dude is still going. We just had a little bit of a break, a little bit of a end of the year break, getting ready for what's coming up. So great to be back with everyone. We've had a lot of people saying, where's the show, where's the show? So yeah, we're back on it. Watch your t-shirt.
You like that, mate?
Yeah, I had to look twice.
Did you?
Make sure it said, I shift.
Oh, I shift myself. Yeah.
I shift myself, yeah.
Well, we've got to keep the propaganda, mate. We can't end up with Gen 3 with paddle shift, can we?
Yeah, might have some bad news for you. I had a bit of an eye spy of a chassis the other day in a place up in Brisbane. I didn't see too many facilities there for a shifter.
Oh, mate, we've now got a year to change everyone's mind.
That's true.
Somehow the Gen 3's been pushed back a year.
Hey.
Did we predict that?
Seriously? When are we going to start getting paid for our predictions?
I don't know, mate. We need our own odds calculator or something.
It's unbelievable. You know what? People bump into me, coffee shop or in the street, and they go, "Oh yeah, geez, we watched the show. Yeah, everything you said that, 6 months ago or a year ago, that's what they're all doing." But it's a lot of it's logic.
Yep.
It's not hard. You just have to use a bit of common sense and not throw statements out for the sake of throwing a statement, and actually use a bit of common sense, and sense prevails in the end, and that's what that is. To introduce that Gen 3 mid-year. It's
a logical choice, isn't it?
In my opinion, that was a silly statement to roll that one out, and it was never going to work, never going to fly. I don't think the teams liked it behind the scenes. They wouldn't comment publicly, of course.
Yeah.
Drivers definitely didn't like it, and if I was a driver full time, I wouldn't like to be thrown in the deep end with a completely new car midway through a championship season. Didn't make sense. So they pushed it out to 2022, which is a smart thing to do.
Yeah, I reckon. Be good.
But we'll cover that off. We're going to cover Gen 3 stuff off. So so there's a bit of racing going on. So and started up again.
It's about to let loose.
Yeah,
mate.
it is. Yeah, it's going to. A compact end of the year, culminating in the big one, the mountain.
In December. Lucky you've been in training, mate. It could be hot.
Jesus, it's going to be hot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, actually, we had our third and final wildcard test out at Ipswich Raceway, and it was a damn hot day. It was over 30 degrees at Ipswich. It was 50 degrees track temp.
No problem.
And look, you could feel it.
Really?
You could feel it. Yeah, cool suit had a bit of a hiccup, and so did a bit of a race run without that, and yeah, you can feel it, but you forget how hot these things are inside the car. They are damn hot, these things, and it's.
Maybe we need to go back to the old days when we just wound down the window.
Just pull all the windows out.
Yeah. Down the straight, put your hand out the window, get a bit of breeze in. That worked, didn't it?
Yeah, it makes a big difference, actually, because you got the vent on the side window and the amount that comes in there. If you didn't have that, you'd race. But yeah, not hard to do. Just pull it out. But yeah, so all the testing's gone extremely well. So that's it. Next stop.
The big one.
Bathurst.
The big one, mate.
God damn.
Yeah.
It's a bit. I'll tell you what, though. I don't know how the others. Well, when I say the other co-drivers, I mean, we've probably had more testing, or I've had more testing than all the other co-drivers.
You've had a good run, actually. The wildcard testing rules have been good for you, haven't they?
Massively.
Yeah.
Well, at least I've been in a car. We've done a lot of laps over those 3 test days. Some of the other co-drivers will, to not be in something for 12 months. Well, since Bathurst last year. Yeah, and even the ones
that have been racing Porsche or Super 2, there hasn't been a lot of it, so.
Not at all.
What, just playing to your hands, mate?
It might be all right. It's not. I'll tell you what, it's taken every bit of those 3 test days to get back up to speed. Like the last one last week, finally I sort of jumped in and went, yeah, okay. Straight away, first lap, I could get on the gas. Knew where everything was, but it's taken every bit of those 3 days. So any other wildcard entries that's going up there that hasn't tested, good luck. It's going to be a hard weekend, I think.
So you went home that night thinking, I've done the right thing.
Yeah, I didn't say that on the first test, I can tell you. I went, holy, you idiot. What did you do this for? But yeah, after the third one, I thought, okay, right. I knew how to pull a lap time, could lap consistently at a decent pace.
It's an interesting one, but how much older are you than Murph? 8 years or something?
About years, isn't it? Yeah.
And they've done no. It's going to be a hard outing for him, isn't it?
I wouldn't like to do it. If I got just thrown straight into the event, that'd be hard work. Because these cars have changed a lot since the last time I was in the saddle. They're a lot different to drive. You have to drive them a lot different to achieve a lap time as well. So, yeah, no. But all in all, so anyway, the important thing is super cheap wildcards on track. Cars going good. Teams, pit stops were good. Everything, driver changes we're ready to roll. I want to. There's a couple of things came up.
Yep.
Before we get, I want to get onto this sale thing because now
Sale of what?
the consortium you were involved with is officially out.
Rumoured to be involved with.
Rumoured to be involved with.
Yep.
You can now hopefully give us a bit more background onto the process and where it's going with all of this too. So I want to get onto that. But firstly, I just read that Tony Quinn has reached an agreement with Queensland Raceways, with John Tetley, and I think that's a great outcome. That is a fantastic outcome for Queensland, that both of them are going to be involved initially. And you've got someone there with Tony Quinn who's an absolute perfectionist. I mean, anyone that's been to New Zealand, been to Highland Park, man, that joint is insane. And John Tetley, I think he deals with the grassroots racer really well.
Yeah.
So with the two of them combined, I think that's going to be very, very strong for the raceway.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Russ. So the basis of it is John's going to go and look after Lakeside, and with his races operation, he has a massive customer base there of people that enjoy grassroots racing. He calls it recreational motorsport, and that's what it is. But hopefully, everyone can now use QR. At the moment, we just had AASA or racers being able to use it. Motorsport Australia not wanting to use the track, so it wasn't up to their standard. If Tony Quinn can come along and open all the garage doors and say, okay, everyone can use the place, that'll be great. That'll be great for Queensland Motorsport. And, hopefully that can happen in Morgan Park. If you've got a racer's licence and John Tetley wants to run a grassroots event at Morgan Park, well, that should happen too, Mm-hmm. It shouldn't matter who the sanctioning body is. So hopefully that's a real good step in the right direction.
Such good news. When I saw that, I thought that's great. They managed to resolve whatever disagreements they had, got the deal across the line and do something.
I think John was just passionate about his customers and wanted to see that they still had somewhere in about, and with his sanctioning body, it still was a need for it. So this will be good for everyone. Be real good.
Couldn't agree more. I think it's going to.
And QR needs some capital thrown at it, mate. Like everywhere you look, you can see a plate. You can see that's 20 grand, that's 30 grand, that's 40 grand. You could dump 5 or 6 million there pretty easily, just bringing that place up to scratch.
Now, Speedcafe ran a poll.
Good poll, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the take-up of it was very good. Wasn't it interesting seeing it? I mean, we've only just seen it after only a few days, but the priority of things that they wanted, and the first and foremost by a country mile, which surprised me because I thought facilities would be one.
Yeah.
But it's actually the track itself.
Track layout.
Yeah, track layout.
People saying they want the Oran Park flyover type bridge, and
which is good because people are going, hey, we want the grounds fixed first. The footy ground.
Yeah.
Where they play the match. We want to see that upgraded first.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Like the carports, not work. The garages work. The system out there works. You bump in, bump out. I don't think it needs to be too Hollywood in there. Just fix it.
No, by country mile, it was circuit right up there.
Yeah, it was.
Probably more than double. And then it came down to facilities, which I totally agree. You've got to have better facilities if you're going to get
better shitters, mate. You can't. You want to take your mum or your girlfriend out there. They need good toilets.
You can't shift myself.
No, you can't. You've got to have that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's pretty average. So you've got to upgrade the facilities to so families go there. They're not squalling around in dirty mongrel toilets and that. So
the toilets are clean out there, I must say.
They're just old. They're just old. They need a bit of
more
of them. Yeah, more of them, and then better places to get. And then it was food and that sort of thing. Pit facilities were actually lowest priority because
But it's a cool pit lane there because it's like the garages work there because you're on pit lane. then you've got the sheds at the back. Like the actual layout flows pretty good there.
Well, people can stand there and see all the action. They go
right.
to some places where you've got garages, you can't see anything.
No, it blocks the...
It blocks it and you can't see the back of the car. There, it's all open. You see people walking around, see the mechanics working on the car.
Yeah.
So I think that was probably lowest in the priority because I actually like that. You know, it's more though when you're rolling the gate, you know, you want to enjoy your day out, which means good facilities, good racetrack.
Yep.
So the race fans have spoken there, so I reckon that was bloody good. Now, Paul, this is a big story that's been happening for quite a while, and that's the sale of supercars.
Yep.
We've spoken a little bit about it on previous shows, but now the group that you were representing is now pulled out of the tender. You can pretty well give us an idea on what the criteria is for the tender. Take us through that on what you had to put forward, or the group that you were involved with had to put forward for the tender.
Yeah, look, I can't go into that sort of detail, but for me it's like pretty simple. You need a number, you need to put a bid in that's acceptable to Archer Capital, and you need a deal there for the teams that's good for them so they don't block the sale. So that's the simple terms. So first criteria is to tick Archer's box, second criteria is to tick the team's box. And I guess, you know, the consortium that I believe has done a deal now that hasn't been announced, but if you look at the smoke signals and read the play and listen to enough rumours around the paddock, I reckon there's been a deal done there, and it looks like it's the right number for Archer, and it looks like it's a ripper deal for the teams. That's pretty simple.
Could I ask you though, when the Added and Gow and rumoured yourself deal was all going ahead, was your deal always part that you were going to buy the teams out? Was that always part of your deal?
Yeah, I think, and Pete's been pretty strong on that, Adderton. That was our idea to take the teams out and control it holus bolus, one entity. But I reckon where we fell short, our number to Archer just wasn't big enough. So
it was just a money. It was the bottom line.
Well, I think so. And then if you go back to the show when we first spoke about it, I think my words were Tim Miles will find the right people to sell it to.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's in depth behind the TLL, TGI group and all that, but you know, for me, that's a company that's similar to SEL, but a lot more horsepower. You know, so you've got a sports and marketing company there, and then you've got a merger with ARG as well, which gives them some operational experience. So I think the teams and supercars and everyone involved think they found the right buyer.
Now I want to grab the I'm going to do it old school. I'm going to do it Mark Larkham style here, and grab the whiteboard because I struggle a little bit, and I'm sure a lot of the
you do, mate. You know why? Because everything's an abbreviation. ARG, TLI, ARG.
To get a head around how and who, what buys it and who doesn't, and who's part of that group and who isn't. It's just like at the moment, like you said, everyone's throwing these 3-letter tags around, and no one knows what they are. So right, we've got the Norwell lap board out here. So let me go around. So I'm going to stand here, draw a bit of a mud map, and hopefully this will teach myself and our viewers how, as far as what you know at the moment, how it's all going to work. So basically at the moment, the only group that's left in the tender now. Yeah,
I reckon they own it.
They've already done it.
I reckon that's a done deal. Yeah. And like, we're not racing at Bathurst in December with all those cars on one grid if there's no deal done, right?
Yeah.
There has to be a deal done. I don't know what it is or whether it's inked, but in principle there must be a deal done.
So there's the TLA.
Well, you have TLA on the left.
Yeah, TLA group.
Yeah.
Okay.
And go far right.
Then we got ARG.
Yeah. And in the middle of that you have their new company, which is Racing Australia Consolidated Enterprises.
Racing Inc.
Yeah, Race, they call it.
Oh, Race.
Yeah.
Okay, Race. Okay, that'll do.
Yeah.
Race Inc. So that's a new company that...
Racing Australia Consolidated Enterprise, and that was on a leaked document they were using for fundraising, which has been... People have been kicking around.
See, you know all this. See, this is why I wanted. This is why I wanted a question on this. Okay, so we've got TLA, ARG.
Yeah.
Now, who is? Firstly, we'll go to ARG first. Who is ARG?
So ARG originally is Brian Boyd.
So that's Pace.
Pace, yep.
Yeah. And
Barry Rogers.
Barry Rogers.
Barry Rogers now is a shareholder of that company. So they're the guys with the money. They're the guys with their cocks on the blocks.
Right. Okay. So Pace and Barry Rogers. Now Pace, who is Brian Boyd,
Boyd's company,
was the ones that initially put the whole TCR category together.
Yep.
Funded it, put it together.
Oh, TCR, the S5000s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
passionate guy.
So
loves his motorsport.
So that's TCR, S5000s,
Trans Am.
yeah.
Touring Car Masters.
Right. TCM.
Yeah, Super 3. Those guys own Super 3 as well.
Super 3.
Yeah.
It's a fair bit.
It's a fair bit. Yeah.
Fair few categories. Okay,
Yeah.
so we got that. That is the ARG, the people involved in ARG and the categories that they have management rights so far.
Bathurst 6 Hour.
Okay.
And the Bathurst International.
Bathurst International.
Yeah. Important, those Bathursts, I think, Russ.
These two are events. So they've got management rights to these categories and event rights too.
Yep.
So that's a pretty big resume. Just the ARG, and for sure that must have been what made the consortium with ARG pretty attractive.
Yeah, so just to reverse back, those two separate entities had separate bids.
Yeah.
And then they've combined. So
right, okay. So they were going individually.
They were going individually, then they've joined.
Okay.
And again, that's someone like Tim Miles going, your bid doesn't quite look good, but if I was you guys, I'd probably do this.
Okay.
That's him making sure he gets the biggest price for the thing and gets the best outcome.
TLA.
Craig Kelly.
Now, tell us about TLA. TLA.
Sports marketing company in Australia.
Yep.
Was bought out by TGI, which is their international arm.
Okay.
Craig Kelly still left in there operating it.
Yep. Ex-footballer.
Ex-footballer.
Yep.
Close to Mark Scaife as well. I think you got to put Mark's name down there, even though I don't know if he's a shareholder or I don't think he is, but he's a strategic advisor there.
Yep.
Pretty important to the scope. He would have been the guy that come up with the concept.
Okay. Now, another heavy hitter in here is Barclay.
Barclay Netfold. So you need another line going up to the top, mate.
Yep.
Go to the top left.
Yep.
Yep. TLA is owned by TGI.
TGI. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's
Barclay Netfold. So he's the boss. He's the worldwide CEO of that company.
Yep. Good name.
It's a cool name, isn't it?
Barclay Netfold.
So apparently he's a bit of an operator, this guy. The word on the street is this guy's a bit of an operator.
I'm seeing a few similarities here. Is this a bit like when Tony Cochrane, SEL,
with
had
TLA,
the rights? Because SEL had behind the scenes who you never saw much of. Tony Cochrane was a front man.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes there was
James Erskine.
Yeah, that was it. He's like the Barclay Nettlfield
I think
of SEL.
so, yeah. From what I'm hearing on the streets, he very much could be. He'd be the godfather to Craig Kelly, maybe. Yeah,
because Cochrane always fronted it, so you always saw him.
Yep.
But James Erskine was in the background, but he was very much part of it.
Yeah, very powerful guy, James. He actually managed Shane Warne, Michael Parkinson.
Really?
Scaife as well, a fair bit to do with that. So,
okay.
Yeah, that could be that dynamic relationship you're looking for there.
Yeah. So out of the group, when you look at it, you got someone here that's involved in the racing side of it with categories,
operational,
operational, that sort of thing. Then you've got marketing, promotion. So very, very SEO orientated.
Yeah.
Of where it used to be. That took it over. Took Supercars to where it was. I won't say is now, but where it was. So there's a lot of similarities here, isn't there?
Yeah, and there's a real good one here, Russ, which I really like. If you look on the ARG side with Rogers and Boyd, those blokes aren't scared to spend their own money on something they believe in. So they're not spending other people's money. They'll have a go, you know.
Right.
And I like that they're operators.
So then all this comes down to Supercars.
Yeah. Oh, Supercars. There you go.
Supercars. There we go. So all this culminates into running of Supercars itself.
Yep. Which, if you look at the categories and events Supercars control, these guys now control all the Bathursts, every category, the whole thing. So you're never going to have a war.
Right. So as long as everyone stays on, there we go, there's a fence.
Yeah.
Stays on their side of the fence and do what they do best.
Do what they do, yeah. Put round pegs in round holes and square pegs in square holes, for sure.
Because that's the part that I look at it, when I look at a structure like this, I suppose like any company structure, and I'm sure that's what they're trying to do, is when people start jumping over either side of the fence. And there's a lot of chiefs here.
Yeah, it'll need a strong management team in Supercars, so I don't think they'll mess with that directly straight away. That'll probably help. Then they'll start putting the right people in the right places. But it's a big operation now.
Okay, so you got SC, right? You need a Tony Cochran that's going to front this up, right?
You definitely need someone there with some balls, mate.
So, okay, all right, we'll do a. There you go. We'll do a pair of balls. All right. This is the ball.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
This is the ball train. All right. Okay.
You need someone when they walk in pit lane or walk in the room, people go, "Oh shit." Yeah. And you would see that with Roland, with your experience.
Okay. Well, hang on.
That kind of dynamic character.
Let me roll a few.
You know
down.
the difference between teams you've been in, right? When he walks in the room or in the pit lane, people stand to attention.
Yeah. Okay, so we need that. This group needs that, don't they?
Yeah.
So we've got, right, from the ARG side, John
McMillan.
McMillan, yeah. So he's been involved in motorsport for a long time with
who's through Wilson Security,
Wilson Securities and through Pace.
Yep.
JM, John McMillan. He would have to be always been involved in corporate entities, got a lot of presence about him. He's one of those guys that I think's got that presence when he walks into a room. What you're talking about. Yeah,
you're right, and he doesn't bullshit.
No,
he gives it to you straight. So
yeah, I got along pretty well with him when I was doing the TCR stuff, and so his name would have to be in the ball ring. There we go. There's a ball ring. Right. Like what I did there? Right, so we got the ball ring. John McMillan. So he's coming from the ARG TCR group. So then we got the crowd favourite, Mark Scaife.
Yeah.
I say that in jest.
Yeah.
But look, Mark may not be a crowd favourite, but he's very passionate about motorsport and he's very thorough in what he does. Would he be up to the game?
As that ringleader? No, I don't think so. But mate, he's a very important piece to play in this because he can operate with politicians, CEOs of company, business leaders.
Yeah.
He has that presence, you know. You see Scaife, you know, you're up at Parliament House in Northern Territory. Who do they get to speak? Comes in with his sports coat on and does a ripper job, right?
Yeah.
He's in there. He's in that mix for me.
Well, let's put him as a support role.
Mate, he is, and got a really good part to play. If you're doing a deal with a state government to run a car race, you want him there.
Well, maybe that's the MS factor. Is the support role to whoever does get the big chair.
Yep.
That'd be fair.
Yep.
That'd be fair. Okay, so we'll put MS as a support role rather than the main game. Who else we got? So we got
Gary and Barry Rogers.
Yeah.
So
have they got that presence you're going to need? What you were talking about in going to see governments and good business people.
Good business people got their own money involved. That will keep the thing sensible. Gary was always the guy that.
I'll put GR down just in case.
Yeah. And Barry, either the two.
Barry.
Or it could even be Ambrose. They might be grooming him for that job.
Well, There you go. There's the Embrace Factor, who Marcus is involved with Gary and Barry's business at the moment, helping them sort out everything, the S5000s and the Trans Ams and everything else around it. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought he would take that role. I don't think. Yeah, I think he would be more in the background of helping organising the racing categories, such as operational.
Okay.
Perfect word, operational. So we'll leave him. We'll leave him out. RD, Roland Dane.
Yeah.
About to step back from his role in Triple Eight. He's got a bit of free time on his hands. I think he's been scouting around behind the scenes with all of this. Is that an option?
There's no doubt he had a fair bit to do with all this. Whether he wants to line himself up for this stage of his life, I'd very much doubt it, mate.
Yeah.
From what I can see with RD, mate, he's the sort of guy you need to have the helicopter view on all this and hold it together. Whether his name's down there or not, I'm pretty sure he's going to have some role to play.
Some role anyway. Yeah. And I suppose it'll be SS. Sean Seamer, the current one.
I think the headlines are probably not a bit too far, but...
Well, a stay of execution, I think the words were.
Yeah.
There's
a bit
allegedly.
of a correlation there too, because if you look at TGI and all those TLA and those companies, and you look at Barclay Netfold's backgrounds in similar sort of outdoor advertising background to what Sean Seamer was in. So
is there a possibility he could stay on?
I think so. Yeah. They've got to find someone. So.
Or would they look for someone totally outside?
They do, but you look how many people had a go at the job of being CEO.
Plenty,
and Sean's by far been the best CEO they've had there since Tony Cochran wasn't doing the job.
Yep.
So, interesting one.
So it could be there, because that is pretty pivotal to making all this work.
Yeah.
You've still got to have someone steering the ship.
You do. You need someone there who can, righto, this is where we're doing, let's go.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of holes in the ship to be repaired.
Yeah.
A lot. It's interesting.
But we're definitely going to have, which is not all those categories can fit on the same bill all the time, right?
Yep.
So if you look at all those categories there, are basically running at, plus Supercars are running at Bathurst in December, it's going to take a week to get the race meeting done. So strategically planning for the fans, you're going to end up with a really good supercar event and a really good ARG style event, hopefully with good TV. And there might be a cull of some of those categories. They just mightn't survive.
Well, there's still scope to run TCR and some of these events separately. They don't always have to be at a supercar.
No, they can't be. You won't fit them all in.
Yeah.
So there'll still be a really strong secondary championship.
It's interesting though.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I wanted to do that, because to me that's made it. I mean, I half understand it, and I was getting confused. So I hope for everyone that gives a better idea on what it's all about.
I think that's good. That maps it out. And
Absolutely.
The big thing for everyone, like I reckon it's happened. It's happening.
Yep.
Whether you like it or not, that's the deal that's going behind. Looks like it's going to be good for the teams. Looks like it's going to be good for motorsport in Australia. Everyone needs to get behind it and make it happen. And mate, it looks like there's plenty of upside for motor. If you look at the F1 Grand Prix on the weekend, the amount of people that were at Austin, NASCAR's been having huge attendance. You know, maybe these guys just paid more money for this because they knew that we were in for some good times coming ahead. So,
but either way, it's not an easy fix, and it's not going to happen. Something that's going to happen in 12 months, is it? This is a long term to take it back up. Almost, I look at it almost when Tony Cochran SEL took it over initially off the teams, and that building process didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of years to get. Yeah,
and you had massive money coming in from both manufacturers. You had big incomes as well. So but that's joined. There's no division. You get two people that are involved in the sport in Australia, all joined together, moving in the right way.
Yep.
I think we're going to get a good outcome.
Yeah. Okay. Certainly hope so.
Hope
Needs it.
the drivers can start getting paid again.
Yeah, well, that leads us into our next one. I know this is something you've been passionate about, and it's a super license point system. So the super license you have to have to go racing.
The super license,
which is all part of it, because see, we talk about this behind the scenes, and trust me, we bench race a lot, not just in front of the camera, but we're talking about motor racing every second day, and the important part about all of this is that that's outside the circuit, but what happens on the circuit? It's the show itself, and the show itself is only as good as the players. So you need the best players on the field to make it entertaining, and that comes down to making sure everyone that has any sort of talent or that looks like they could be a future star gets that opportunity. And that starts with a licensing system.
Yeah, it does. And if the super license thing, for me, is a concept that works in Europe. It's, people over there got bags of money. They looked at all the categories and said, let's make people earn points in categories and work their way up the ladder under the guise of safety and people getting more experience. And when you look at how that's introduced into Australia, to me, it just puts massive amount of expenditure and costs on people to go and chase points, and it's not a true reflection of their driving ability. Because if you look at the sport, we want it to be more inclusive. They want it to be more people involved in gender and race. The first thing you have to do is make it less expensive, and you'll get that. So if we still make it elitist, where a person can come along and do 3 championships in 1 year and get enough points, they're going to get the drive over the kid that doesn't have any dough.
Yeah.
So,
agree.
15, 20 years ago, you could do a really good job in Formula Ford, and most people, someone like Will Power, for example, could run a Formula Ford with his dad towing it behind his Holden Commodore and win races and be recognised as doing a good job. And once you put this point structure in place, it's just, okay, when I look at the super licence points, the average person would have to spend, I reckon, $1 to $1.2 million to get all those points. There'll be a freak that comes through quickly, but the average person just not going to get the points.
All right, so make it, so what you're saying is, scrap the point system altogether, or do it a different way to get the opportunity?
Yeah, well, the system they have in America, in NASCAR and IndyCar, is they have a group of ex-drivers, and they review your driving and tell you whether you're good enough to go to the next level, and you're signed off.
Okay.
And it's basically a mentorship program as well. So, but what we have now is just a bunch of teams and a bunch of drivers chasing points, and then if you don't have enough points, you try and get an exemption, and then it just causes drama. But the last thing you want to do is have people overextending themselves to chase points.
Yeah.
And I know people that are doing it.
Obviously, you want experience. You don't want novices in one of the highest categories in Australia.
No, you don't.
But the same boat, there is freak drivers that come along that you can tell straight away from driving some of the real junior categories. Hell, this kid's good.
It can operate.
Or this person's good. Or,
that person could operate at that level straight away.
Absolutely. So to give them the opportunity to do it, and you're right, because motorsport isn't getting cheaper. It's getting bloody expensive, even in some of the lower categories. Yeah,
and the points are based to your finishing position in all the different championships. So you could have a couple of DNFs. You could be not that well funded and not have the world's best motor and it blow up 2 times, and you never get the points. And
while leading.
And then go, well, I haven't got enough points. What am I going to do?
Yep.
So.
And you just hit a glass ceiling after that.
You do.
It shouldn't be. You shouldn't have to pay your way into it.
No, you need something there so you don't end up with people that aren't experienced driving the cars. That's what they don't want. They don't want you to learn in supercars. By the time you get to supercars, you should be ready to go. But I think the point system needs a bit of a look at.
I think the American system's really good because there's no better judge than ex-drivers. I mean, you pick the right drivers.
Yep.
And they know, because you know yourself. It's like you've trained. How many drivers have you trained out here? How many kids? And you can spot them a mile away.
You see them.
Anton, Brock, and Brody.
Yeah.
And you know when you're sitting alongside them, you go, yeah, Skid knows what they're doing. You can't get that. That's no point structure will get that. So I think that review panel is one of the best systems, and maybe when this lot get in, they can look at doing that. Some sort of reward to it, because that's what we want. Got to get the best drivers in the best category, because that's what makes entertaining
And then the
racing.
show will be better.
Yeah, it's all about the show.
Yeah, and if you look at supercars now, you've got probably four or five drivers there that are actually getting paid. The rest there are bringing sponsorship and got commercial deals, and the rest are just paying to be there.
Yeah.
So you're not getting the best guys through.
Yeah, you got to turn that around, and that's where I hope this lot pay attention to that when they get their eye in and get in the gate, because fancy commercials and fancy palm trees in the pits is all great, but it all happens on that black stuff.
Yep.
Straight away. Gen 3, got to get onto that. Bit of an update because, as we know, it's been put off to 2023. I've seen a half-completed car.
Yeah.
Already. Look, it's a beautiful bit of kit, Paul. Like but to me, it looks like a GT car. That's what I look at it, and let's face it, I know they're well, they're not really a touring car, are they? Still a two-door sports car as a road car.
Yes.
But you know, it doesn't look cheaper. I know, and we've had discussions about this with the people that are involved in manufacturing the cars, that the car will be cheaper to run. That's where the cost saving won't be with buying the car, it'll be the running of the car will be the cost saving. But if you shunt this thing through hard competitive racing, I can't see it being any cheaper.
Well, you would know, I haven't seen it, but if it's as trick as what you say it is with the composite body and look, I know a little bit about it because we're involved in some of the parts supply through another one of our businesses, and it looks like, you know, a cool car that engineers would get off on building, and drivers would probably get off on driving. But do the blokes on the hill know the difference? And that's you know, the people. If you look at a TA2 car, and if you look at what Gen 3 is going to be, 95% of people sitting on the hill will not know the difference. And you've got a car there worth 150 and a car worth maybe 600. So somewhere in between there is where we should be. But I think we've gone too far. I haven't seen the car, but from what I know of it, I think it's for the Australian market. I think that's just too far out there. We needed to bring it back more. So
and we're entitled to our opinion, entitled to our, you know, on this, and I'm sure, you know, there'll be people that are involved in the manufacturing of it, which will have a go at us after they see the show and go, oh yeah, you're all wrong with that. But we've been there and done that with the early version of supercars, right through to where it is now. We've both done it, and I know which one we enjoyed the most.
Yep.
And it wasn't later years, was it?
No. It just comes over complicated.
Yeah, it was the early years.
Well, you've just been testing with the Super Cheap Auto Wildcard.
Yep.
Like, you name it, you need a team of really smart people to make that car operate in the window it operates in. And you've got to drive it a certain way, and you know, it's just, to go fast, you've got to live in this little box that everyone's living in. So
Spot, you are so dead right with that. You're so dead right, because the window is so small, and a little adjustment in ride height, aero, spring, roll centre makes a massive difference.
It's an engineering philosophy, and eventually everyone ends up running the same anyway, because that guy moves from that team on that go. Eventually everyone catches up to each other. So
it shouldn't be like that. It should be, you know, if the car's got gaffer tape hanging over it and all the rest of it because you've had a few shunts, you know, that it still actually handles the same. You can still be competitive.
Yep.
You know, and the early model cars were like that, the VS's and the early Falcons, and they were all like that.
Big window you could operate in.
Oh, big window, and it didn't matter if the thing was a bit bent up. You could still get up on the wheel and drive it. And that was the important thing too, I found, is if you were brave enough and stupid enough, you could still pull a result in a lap time out of it. You know, to me now it's just, look, I've enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it early days more, and that's where the car should be heading back. And I don't see that with the new car. I still see it being very technical.
Even with the aero coming off it? You still think she'll be?
Well, like I said, I'll be reserved about it,
Yeah.
and I might be proven wrong, you know. But it just still looks very technical, and look, the aero will help. But I think somewhere when I was out at Queensland Raceway, I saw the TA2s belting around, and I got up on the fence and had a good look. I thought these things are pretty cool. But then you saw a supercar go past, and you think, yeah, you could see the extra speed that it had and corner speed.
We could.
Yeah.
I don't reckon.
No,
the
true.
average-
It just seems to be something in the middle, though.
Yeah.
Paul. Something a little bit more than a TA2, but not where it is. I think that would be the happy medium.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, what you keep saying is something that's cost efficient.
Cost efficient, easy to repair, common parts.
Yeah.
You know, and the parts need to be inexpensive enough that the teams don't have $1 million worth of parts sitting in their trucks.
Yeah. Now you've organised something
I have. Yeah.
with the TA2.
Yeah, I have. And the beauty about this category, the cars are cool, but the organisation behind it's probably even cooler because their philosophy is to have an exciting car to race.
Yep.
And be able to go and race it without mortgaging the house. And because they control all the components and all the spec, they just run a common parts truck.
Right.
I think it's a great time to have a look at this, not only to show how good it is, but this is where supercars need to be heading as well.
Well, I haven't seen it, so I'd be real interested to have a look.
Yeah,
So.
if they can get a common parts supply, the teams haven't got massive amount of capital tied up in equipment and parts at the track and can draw on some central proving.
Let's bowl out and have a look.
Let's have a look.
Cool. Ah, the TA2, dude. I love these. They're tough, aren't they?
Pretty cool cars.
Look how tough they look. Big muscle, like it's just sort of like a refined NASCAR, isn't it?
Well, it's just a stock car, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like-
I know, but this sort of looks a bit, because it looks like the genuine article, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it is, mate.
like the real
Really.
thing.
Looks more like a Mustang than the current supercar looks like one.
So this is Nash. He ran it first time at Ipswich Raceway.
Yeah, we picked this car up 3 days before the race meeting.
Yep.
Spent about probably 5 or 6 hours in our shop. Did a wheel line on it, just nut and bolt check. Didn't find anything.
So that's how you picked it up?
That's how we picked it up, raw
assembled,
and white, put some stickers on it, put a setup in it, took it to the track, raced.
One.
Won.
That's pretty good, isn't it? Well, there,
Well,
yeah. 3 days before the race meeting, brand new car, go out there, fire, won a few races.
Yeah.
It's the way to go racing.
Well, it is, and it's really it's the organisation behind it, the TA2 organisation, who bring the cars in to the country. You know, they do things right.
Yep,
The car's ready to go when you pick it up from them. They're very, you know, they care about the product that comes out the door, and you know, for someone like us, it's probably easy to put a lot of things right when you buy a new car. Normally you buy a new car and the first thing is you pull it apart and put it back together again.
Yep.
But you don't need to here. So
They're assembled nice.
if you're Joe off the street and you want to go buy yourself a race car, it's basically turnkey.
I know, let's do a refresher, because I know last year we had Aaron Seaton in with his
Aaron and
tattoo.
Glenn,
I
yeah.
know we went through it, but I still want to refresh everyone's memories of what the TA2 is about. So everything is spec on the car: shockers, suspension, brakes, the engine, which is basically what's going to be the Gen 3 engine for supercars.
Yeah, that
isn't
will
it?
be based on that motor, on that LS-based engine. This is sort of mid 500s.
Okay.
Yeah.
500 horsepower.
Yeah.
Mid 550 horsepower. Yep.
Pretty reliable. 4,000 or 5,000 k's before you need a rebuild. Rebuild's about 18 grand. You can actually just drop that engine out and drop another one up to them, and they'll just exchange it back out, and away you go again.
So just an exchange program for the engine.
Or you can buy a new one if you want, but the exchange program works really well.
Yep.
So it works out to be, you know, pretty expensive motor, inexpensive motoring for your engine package.
I mean, that's still decent horsepower. 550 is enough to get into trouble. So.
Well, that's all we had at supercars when they first came.
Oh, that's true.
If you had 580, you were king of the kids.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. 4-speed.
Yep.
H-pack and gearbox?
H-pack and box.
Right.
Again, it's simple to rebuild. The dogs are separate from the gears.
Yep.
So, you know, good mechanical preparation shop can pull that box apart and rebuild it in probably a couple of hours.
Yep. So
Lovely.
old school. Telemetry. as such?
No, so
Like
it's
data
got,
or telemetry?
It's got data. It's got Motec data acquisition, GPS based, so
Yep.
the real basic stuff. But it gives you throttle position and brake pressures and a
Right.
speed trace. So it's for us when we run, like we've got Nash and then we've got 2 other drivers that are not going at Nash's level. So it's a really good training tool for us to get the other drivers up to speed.
So you can still get the basic data, a bit like what you have in the Toyota 86s for your school.
Exactly the same, mate.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly the same.
Right.
So
and that works well with the training at Norwell.
it's just good if someone's off the pace within our team, we just go, oh, well, we can go straight to the data and show them where to look.
Yeah, okay, all right.
You look, you don't.
Yep.
Yeah, it's brakes in turn 3 or something. It just cuts that learning curve down.
Right, so it's enough to train the driver, get him a bit better up to speed without being over the top and need a fleet of engineers.
You don't need a fleet of engineers.
Yep.
Most of the time, that sort of data actually saves you money because you're not just pounding laps and wearing a car out trying to go fast.
Right.
You can pull the data out, do a basic overlay and say, this is where your time is, go and work on that.
Right,
So
okay.
it's a good tool.
Same tyres all the way throughout?
Yeah, they're the
Set
wets
tyre?
on there at the moment with the travel nuts on them, but
Yep.
who's your tyre all round, same aero package, everyone's got the same stuff.
Does the wing do anything?
It's pretty low downforce, but it does do a fair bit. Like on the weekend, we were a bit tight through turn 1 and 2 at QR.
Right.
We trimmed 3 or 4 degrees off the wing, and that fixed the problem.
Oh, okay, so it does something. Yeah, you
Back to early supercar days.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's enough that it teaches you about aero without being ridiculous like the current supercars.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. And it just trims out the front, I suppose, because
Just
the front looks like it's got no aero.
It's got a bit there. They're quite sensitive to ride height at the front. Like if you get that splitter down on the deck, it starts working a bit. So there's enough there to train the drivers about what the aero can do. Pretty sensitive to rake as well. A range of springs you can use.
So you can change springs.
Yep.
There's damper settings. You can't change the damper, but damper settings.
Settings, yep.
So bump and rebound, just minor.
Yep.
So you still got a bit of tunability in it to teach you the basics of...
And everyone's got the same. So there's, if you take the body off, every part's interchangeable on every car.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's what keeps it good. You've got a controlled spec. The car's built for the Australian conditions. So what Peter Robinson's done, he's gone there and said, this is what I want the car to be like. I think he ordered 10 or 12 cars to start off with, and he's controlled the specification and kept it the same. So everyone's got the exact same thing.
That's right.
And it's an Australian version of what TA2 car can be.
So I'm Russell race fan, right?
Yeah.
Just seeing these out at Ipswich Raceway going, oh, how horn do these look? Sound good, go good racing, bit of crash and bash, all the rest of it. So I get on to the distributors of these, the importers. I ring them up and go, hey, I've seen these. This is what I get. I get the same car as the one that Nash Morris, who just won at Ipswich Raceway, I get exactly the same car.
That's exaccly what you get, mate. Everyone gets the same thing.
See, that's what I like about it, dude.
You can't be outspent.
No. And when we were talking about this earlier in the show about, opportunities for drivers to compete without having to spend money to try and show their talent, this is the one, for something that's probably doesn't cost that much more if they're racing Formula Ford, and a hell of a lot cheaper when that Formula 4 thing was going.
And it's the road, like Formula 4 in Australia is another thing. That's the road to nowhere, mate. So, but yeah, this car fits our way of going racing. I think it's, you come out of Toyota 6s, you're looking for that next step. Not everyone's got that 500 to 600 grand to go Super 2 racing.
And building, yeah.
You can run in the Trans Am series and run for probably 150 grand and do a really good job.
That's cheap racing.
It is.
It's cheap racing for something that looks like a race car.
Yeah.
Sounds like a race car.
And then, there's and in the TA2, so there's 2 series, a Trans Am series, which is run under Motorsport Australia, promoted by ARG. That's like a pretty high level, but you can't be outspent. And then the local TA2 racing, which is on the AASA sanctioning body, which is probably more owner drivers, people that just want to enjoy their car and take it out and drive it. But we do a bit of both as well. It's not uncommon to see an open trailer and a husband and wife running a car having a good time. And they're capable of doing it.
That's for sure. And probably can still go out and get a result. Stand on the podium, shake some champagne.
Yeah, well, the reason behind all that is the support behind the category. That's what we're here for.
That's what I want to get to, because I know we've seen this before. It's great to have a refresher of what the car and the category is about.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about it, and something that has to be done in supercars if the new owners are half smart, is the support. So we're going to see Cameron
Sendell, he runs the operation there.
Yep.
And we'll have a look at his parts truck and his parts supply and his technical support.
Right.
It is second to none. There's not much this guy doesn't know about these cars, and he's there to help everyone.
Beautiful.
And the best thing about it, you don't get shafted on the price.
That'll be a motorsport first.
It is.
All right, let's go check him out.
Cameron's here, mate. This is where he
mate.
lives.
How are you?
How you doing?
How you going, Jack?
How are you, Ross?
How you
How are you
going?
doing? How are you?
How are you?
Yeah, you know this guy.
I certainly do.
He's bought a few bits off you.
He has, just a few. Yeah, no, all good day.
Yeah, now Paul's taken me on the mystery tour of, well, not a mystery tour, but a tour of what TA2 is about, the inception of it, and how it operates. That's what really intrigues me, is how it works. So I'm Rusty Racer coming to you. Just bought a car, right? What do you provide as a service? So let's take it from the car. So I've come to the workshop.
Yeah.
I'll bring you up.
Yep.
What happens? So I come down to the workshop. You've got one of them sit and wait for me.
Yeah, so we all from picking the car up, you know, we've wandered down there, like there's a seat. We'll do the seat fit and everything. We'll pre-deliver the car.
Yep.
We'll go through all the pre-setup and everything with the car.
Okay.
And then need be, we'll come to the track for the first day. If you're a new guy, you know, some experienced guys have bought the cars and been happy to take the car. I always try and come to the track for the first day, like to make sure everything's right with the car. We'll bring truck if need be. But normally we set it up on a test day, so we have everything there to cater for the customer. I mean, our focus is to make sure that they get the value for money out of the car. And the importance of us is that they get out with a smile on their face. You know, that's the big thing.
So I just don't roll up and you say, there's the car, load on your trailer, see you later, and wave to me. You actually come out, give support, especially if I haven't raced before.
Correct, yes.
And what it's all about, how to set the car up, so you give a bit of tuition along with the way.
Yeah.
Exactly what you want, dude.
Yeah.
No, it is. It makes it easier for people to get into the sport, because unless you've grown up around racing, it's hard to understand. How many people talk to you all the time and say, how do you get into racing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, well, the problem is you get asked that a lot, and it's hard to give them a direction.
It is.
Because the categories aren't there and the support isn't there, which is the main thing.
Yeah.
It's great, you know, people can go out and buy a race car. Great, sitting there in the shed going, now what do I do? You know, so you need that sort of information, everything you spoke about, to make the transition easier. And that's what I like about it. So the levels with the TA2 and the Trans Am series as well, which is another series. One is in the same car?
Essentially, they are exactly the same car, the same specification of the car, and the rules are set the same.
Okay.
So we have the rights to the rules. We're the sole importer and distributor for these cars in Australia. They're very much the same as a US-based Trans Am car, but they're a TA2 Racing Australia specific car. There's some changes that we've done with the cars to mould them to our environment. So we've our tracks are a lot different to the US tracks, and there's a few bits and pieces, so there's some stuff, and to keep the costs down, we've changed some, not vital parts in the car, but just to make some stuff more reliable and stuff like that, more user-friendly for the average punter that drives the car.
Especially climate conditions,
tracks, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, there's been it's forever ongoing. Like, we're always looking at the cars, and if there's a little improvement we think we can do, we put that across the board. We try and put that out as a net cost to the end user, so there's not a major change on the car. We do that for as cheap as possible, and we think about how we need to do that. So there's a very minimal cost, if any cost at all, to do a modification to the car down the track.
See, benefit racing versus cost.
We're not doing updates to make money.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
Right, yeah, and why spend the money if that update isn't going to prove the racing or anything else? If it's a mechanical or
long-term advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. For reliability, you'd say it, but don't make changes for the sake of it.
Yeah. Exactly right, and that's the way we view it. You know, like I treat myself as a racer that's on a very lean budget to go racing cars, so I look at it in that same eyes for everyone else that has a car. You know, there's a big demographic of people that have the cars, but again, we all need to be on the same board.
There's a lesson there as well.
There is.
For a certain race category that's about to make some major changes, you know, ask the questions to the right people, not the wrong people.
Yeah.
Not the people that have got money.
No,
Ask the people that haven't got money.
Well, you've got to stay in business, haven't you?
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah, that's right. We've got to cater for this guy at this end and that end. So
Hey,
it's very important.
One of the cool things, and I've spoken about this, Paul, before, I really like the setup you have of servicing
Yes.
the categories with trucks at the race meetings.
Yep.
You know, so Paul goes racing on the weekend, he doesn't have to carry any spares.
I don't carry anything.
Nothing, jerry can.
Well, I'll give you a good example. I said, I might need a spare engine, remember?
Yes.
He goes, well, why would you need a spare engine? So I went down the shop, he goes, you don't need one, mate, I've got 7 of them here. I'll always make sure there's one at the track.
Yeah.
There you go. So you've got these beautiful transporters. Talk us through these, because they're, and I'll have to compliment you how immaculate everything is too. It's just beautifully presented, clean, tidy, exactly what I'd want to see if I'm going motor racing and I'm in a category that services it. You carry everything to the track that
Correct, yes.
the racer may need if he needs a part, crashes the car, whatever.
Yeah, we've got nose cones and retail assemblies and everything, and predominantly it's always that $2 part at the track where normally you get let down by. So we think of that and cater for that as well. There's optional springs, rotors, stub axles, calipers, steering racks. We have some fluids, air boxes. So yeah, what's linked. So any crash components that the car, if it's unfortunate to be in an accident, we have enough stuff to get the car going again to finish the race meeting. So short of having a whole chassis but I mean, if you
But you got them in stock.
We have them in stock in the shop.
And even chassis.
Yeah. And front and rear cuts off the chassis, and we've got a chassis jig from the factory, so we can put a car on the jig and drop the front off and put a front or rear section on as required.
So again, to clarify, these couple of beautiful Pantecs are at every meeting that the TA2s run at. Yep. You don't have to carry any parts, bar the minimal tyres or whatever. You can roll up, buy anything at the track, give you a credit card, thank you, like you go to the supermarket, plug it out.
We run an account and we'll set the account off the following week for car owners, so there's none of this worrying about at the track, so we just run a credit account system, so it's just, sign that, off you go. And so there's no worries about that. We just try and make it as simple as possible. They can concentrate on their racing and enjoy the racing. That's what they need to be.
Let's walk around, Cam, because I've seen at the back you got some more heavy duty equipment here.
Yeah, we've got the heavier components at the back here. So obviously we've got we carry 2 diffs generally.
Okay.
There's an engine, like a brand new engine that's ready to go. Front and rear crash bars, nose pin bars, just superficial stuff. A couple of drive shafts. We've got a gearbox over there.
Okay.
And for a big round, I'll take 2 gearboxes, say.
Yeah.
We'll shuffle some stuff around the truck to be like if we go to Tasmania or something like that. We'll take a bit of extra stuff, and I'll load more stuff in the big truck as well.
Fantastic. Hey, I just want to this is the first time we've had a good look of the differential.
Yep.
Just up in here, Pete. Have a look at this back end, because this is where the gear component comes in. So it's almost like the Formula Ford used to be, isn't it?
Just a drop gear at the back.
Yes, just drop the back hat off. There's 2 spare gears in there.
Yeah.
So to change a ratio, it's 5 minutes. A couple $100 ml of oil. You can put back in the back hat, and it's about $300, $320 for a set of gears.
Is that right?
And then our gear ratio set's open. You can run whatever rear ratio you want to run, because the engine RPM's limited and the gearbox ratios are limited. So. And the tyres are limited, so really it's a big tuning thing for the guys at the track. Some guys, how they get off the corner and all that sort of stuff. So the gear ratio becomes a fairly good tool. Some guys play with the gear ratios a fair bit, but that's an open thing, and it's a good thing for guys to experiment with, that's for sure.
That's a good idea, that. Just makes it so easy, and from the back as well, so you're not pulling half the car to bits.
Yes.
To try and change.
Well, the Supercar gearbox has got the drop gear, but it's on the other side. You've got to pull the tail shaft, the drive shafts out to get to the gears.
See, it's just such a smart.
No, it's good. We mess with it a bit. Wind changes and you're on the rev limiter or something, you can just quickly change the gear so you're not damaging the motor.
Yeah, smart.
Like half a gear set or half a ratio and such.
And like this, it's almost like off-road stuff. I shouldn't say off-road because it's a bit agriculture, but the bars, that's what you bend initially, front and rear bars.
Yes.
Take them off. You're not replacing a quarter of the car with the whole front clip. Just replace these on and off easy as they go.
$220 for a bar. So
tell me about the life of the engine. do a season easy?
2 to 3 seasons for an engine.
2 to 3?
Yeah, I mean, obviously maintain and not zinged on the rev limiter all the time and stuff like that, you'll get 2 to 3 seasons out, no problem. I've had engines that done 8,000 Ks, pulled them apart and they've been fine.
Is that right?
Yeah, you know, so they're quite a good engine because they rev limited down as well to 6,500 RPM.
Yeah.
They just live, you know, they're built to live, and they've got internal components that are built to do that now. It's only, like I said, the misshift and the rev limiter.
Yeah.
But you can't stop that. That's what it is.
And the good thing about it is, you know, going to be the big announcement at Bathurst of Mustang Camaro Gen 3. Guess what? It's already here.
That's already
It's already here, mate. Like, I spotted this. I had to get you to get it out of the truck. Beautiful looking.
Yeah,
Camaro looks excellent, and it looks like the road going version.
Yeah, the bodies are sweet. You know, they look like exactly that, like a road car. This is our 2-seater ride car for corporate days and stuff. And again, if we get people that are interested, they can come to the track and go for a burn in this thing before they say, yeah, I want to commit to buy a car or whatnot. So we offer that service. If people have come out of something and they want to go, oh, I don't know if we really want to get in it, we'll go for a burn in this thing.
Yeah, I mean, it looks so tough. I mean, when you look at the front of it, I sort of look at this dude and I sort of go, you know what? Geez, there's a ton of these going around, and if you got some here, I know it's more designed for for the professional or the clubby racer.
Yeah.
But geez, there's a ton of these with a heap of good pedallers in there, you know, heap of gun pedallers. That'd be the best race ever.
Mate, if you're sitting on the hill, you wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah, I know there's a difference.
No. You
Sound
probably think it's better.
Oh, yeah.
And if the worst happens, it doesn't cost you the national debt to fix the thing too. So.
No, it would be interesting. How much is a body if you want to rebody the car?
About 13 for a body, just a bare, like, you know, bare gel coated style body, about 13 and a bit these days, depending where the dollar's at. Yeah.
There you go. So a front splitter for a supercar is like $9,000.
$9,000, and you can replace a whole body for 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have had the bodies in stock. Like with the greenhouse, what they call the roof section, the greenhouses and all that sort of stuff. So, and the beauty is, if you buy a Camaro or a Mustang, you want a Dodge, you put a Dodge body on it if you like.
So you can change it.
Yeah, you can. If you like, you run a car for a season, you just swap it over. You know, so body swap and a little bit of tin work where the dash comes across. But yeah.
And you think of sponsor opportunities that may want a different type of body on it too. Yeah. You can use the same chassis, just swap it over. It might help with sponsorship and certain things.
And we do get that a little bit with some of the customers. They go, oh, you know, this car would suit us better for trying to get a sponsor.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then some guys have already swapped bodies because of that. So.
Yeah. It's a great setup. I mean, to have these at the track for me, dude.
It's a big investment in making sure your customer gets treated right. And it's something we've never really seen before. Like 286 has a parts truck as well.
Yeah.
And Porsche, but
not to this extent though.
Not to this extent, mate. No.
Yeah. And to me, this would tip me across the line. Like I said, if I was going out racing, I'd look at, because you have to keep that into account, because you can spend just as much in maintaining than you can the initial cost.
Well, you think of the money you got tied up in spare parts, just sitting in your truck. Like with the supercar, you got spare of everything, sometimes 3, because you can't afford to break down. Well, these guys are there for you. I can't. Also with the advice, you know.
Well, this is why I was real keen when you mentioned, Paul, you wanted to do this and bring Cam down and show us all this infrastructure, is that straight away I'm going, man, Europe in all the categories over there, whether it be one make or not, this is what they do.
Yep.
This is what they do. They have this setup, you know, because it just makes sense financially.
Yeah, for sure.
And as a business for the category, it just makes sense. And if supercars don't go down this line, they are just crazy. You know, not looking at this model, I'd be ringing you up and going, hey, let's put Hollywood aside, ring up and go,
how do you do it?
Can we come down and visit you and see how you set this up? Why wouldn't you do that?
Well, you would.
You know, I mean, someone's already doing it. And successfully.
Successfully.
I mean, how many cars have you sold so far in Australia? Or on the track?
There'll be 70, about 70 here now. Yeah, we're more coming. I've lost count, to be honest.
Really? So, 70 odd cars.
Yeah.
And counting.
And counting. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
That's a big
and the
infrastructure.
cars do it for themselves. I mean, like, you know, just the package when they turn up, like they're so good out of the box, and they've just been super reliable, and we've had zero problems with any part of the car. You know, they've just been so good out of the box, and that's why it's so how good they are. You know, they go and they run around and they keep going, and guys get in and they go on fast. They're just the evolution of them. Nothing's changed in the car in the last 3 years to make them go faster. But the guys are set up, and then the drivers, the young guys coming in, are just getting what they need to get out of the cars. It's just, you know, who would have thought one of these would do 210 around Bathurst, you know, like it's not bad for a car with no windows. So
Yeah.
We're in the 12s out there on Sunday in qualifying.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
It was a stinking hot day too, so
Yeah.
See, that's
Just-
fast.
And
Yeah.
brand new car.
brand new car. Yeah.
That's fast. So you pay 4 times that just for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, and the
That makes
people on the
sense.
hill don't know, mate. And I go
yeah.
back to what I said earlier. You want, you know, everyone wants the sport to be more inclusive and get more people involved. Well, you can't if your business model makes it expensive for them to get into. The sport's becoming elitist, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
We live in Australia, mate, not in Europe.
But it shows you the importance too of having a good relationship with the manufacturer
100%.
as an importer as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
too, which you obviously do.
Yeah, we can ring them anytime, you know, day or night. Weekends are always on the phone.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I was talking to the factory Friday night when we're heading back from the shop.
Yeah.
It was about 10 o'clock. I rang him. It was 7:30 in the morning there, and just talking to Dick. He's the main R&D guy there, and
Yeah.
he's been there forever. Really good guy to talk to. Anything we need to know, and they're straight onto it. So,
Are they
yeah.
blown out by the uptake of this? There's this little small island floating,
Oh, they
floating
are,
down
for
here,
sure,
and the US must go, where's all these cars going?
They're just going, man, how's it working? But again, it's a formula
Yeah,
on
yeah.
how we do it. You know, Peter's done a very good job on how he structured the formula to make it work, and he's like-minded for people that can afford to go and do some racing and want to do it correctly with the money they have, and not be just throwing oodles of money at something to go and have some fun, you know. I think that's the catalyst behind it. That's what's made it happen, because it's come from a guy that wants to do it,
Yeah.
and he's very thoughtful on how it needs to happen. And for other people, you know, like we just sort of, it all needs to be good across for everyone.
Yeah.
So.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for showing us through.
No
Thank
worries,
you very
mate.
much.
So
And absolute credit to yourself and Peter. Obviously,
thank you very
putting this
much.
together. Thanks,
Thanks
dude.
for having us. It's been great.
Have to get you in one.
Yeah, I'd love to have a spin in one. I really would. No, I
Yeah.
mean that. Yeah, we'll have to organise
After
that.
Bathurst, mate. After that job's done.
After Bathurst done, I can go out and have some fun. So
All right.
that'd be good. All right.
Sure.
Keep this parts truck there, mate. Just in case. All right, let's get back to it.
Right, mate. Thanks, Cam.
Thanks, Cam. See you, Dad. So I'll tell you what, he's got his act together.
Cool
with that
setup,
Yeah, it is a good setup. It's smart. It's very, very European.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was racing in Europe, that's exactly the way I used to set up, whether it be Formula Renault or Ford Fiesta's Cup or whatever it was, that they had a parts truck. You'd buy the cars, the one-make cars, run it yourself. Parts truck was always in the pits. Dude sitting there behind a counter with his cash register, your credit card, there's your wishbone, there's your upright. Beautiful.
Way you go.
Every category ran it. And this is going back into the 90s, so it's nothing new. It's just that they seem to be a bit behind the times here in catching up with that sort of stuff. Except for
That works. And the secret to it is not gouge the competitor.
no,
Just
No.
make it fair price. And
you got to put a little bit of GST to cover costs, administration costs. But apart from that,
yeah.
you know, and
works
you
well.
got bulk buying power too there. Wherever the components come from, you got bulk buying power as well, too, which keeps it cheaper for the
Yeah,
competitor.
and it stops people going this research and development arms race looking for a thing. Everything's controlled.
Yeah.
Comes back to the driver.
That's what it should be.
Yeah.
Which then comes back to what we spoke about earlier with the point system and getting the right drivers in, which gets the best entertainment.
You got
One
it.
rolls out from the other.
You got it.
Pretty cool. All right, that's it. We're pretty well wrapped up. Dude's life message.
Oh, it's a good one today,
Is
mate.
it a good one? Okay.
Yeah.
Rightio, fire at me.
Shift yourself. You just might enjoy it. We've
Absolutely.
We've got to save the manuals, mate.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Actually, I was talking to a mate of mine in Sydney. I rang him up and he said, I can't talk, I'm with my daughter, and he rang me back later.
Yeah.
And he said, his daughter was out, they were doing some, she's just about to get her P's.
Yeah.
You know, so out doing some more hours. in a manual, in a manual Hilux, I think.
Beautiful.
She wanted to learn manual,
Yeah, good.
drive a manual.
People, it's coming back, mate.
She wants a manual license. I didn't realise there was a manual license. I didn't know there was a division now.
There is.
So road license.
Yeah.
So
That's the problem, mate. You get your auto license and can't drive a manual.
can't drive a manual.
Yeah, which means you can only do 2 things at once, not 3.
Yeah.
If you made everyone get a manual, we'd have a lot better drivers on the road.
Oh, don't get me started about drivers on the road. Has everyone forgotten how to drive at the moment?
We don't have to drive, mate.
Over
The
during
car
lockup or
does-
COVID or
does half the stuff itself.
there's just so much madness on the road. Some complete utter morons. Like I can't get my head around it.
Yeah.
Just people seem to have just forgotten how to drive.
Yeah. It's a lost art, mate.
I don't know. It's the lockdowns. Everyone's going loopy. I don't know what the story is, but anyway, we'll get onto that one other day. We're going to do a show before Bathurst. We're going to do a Bathurst prediction show.
Okay.
So I'm going to throw it out to our viewers on. I've had an idea of maybe a Friday night live or something like that show, and we'll do a Facebook Live where the punters can throw questions in, get our predictions for the race, ask us about the race, both past and present. What do you think of that idea?
That'd be good.
So live streaming,
Yeah.
and then we'll get someone else on the go, that will be taking questions and
Yeah,
can
good.
throw at us. What do you think about something like that?
Mate, I'm up for that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good one.
Let me try and organise it.
Okay. Beautiful.
I think our technical gurus can organise that. So
Beautiful.
I think we'll do that. So stay tuned for that one. We'll keep you notified on it. Of course, as always, thanks to our show sponsor, Supertube Auto.
Yep.
And thanks to everyone out there for tuning in once again. Sorry again, it's been a while between drinks, but
You have been busy, Ross.
yeah, life goes on, mate. Yeah, you've been doing a bit of racing, and
I have.
Yeah.
Managed to get a few in. So
yeah,
It's good.
No, that's good. Okay, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
See ya.